Hello and welcome to another conversation inside 33 Conversations podcast. I'm Michael, I'm your host, and I talk to founders every single day. It's one of the greatest joys of my life now is to talk about what's happening, building a business, how did it get started, like all of those things. What's underneath the human side of actually making it real in the world. And my guest today, Elisabeth, knows a little bit about that. She's a French-born entrepreneur who built a global practice at Price Waterhouse and walked away from it, from a guaranteed partner track to build something of her own. Her journey is a masterclass on clarity, courage, nerves of steel, and tension between that external success and the internal truths that we all hold for ourselves. Where today we're going to be getting into the pivots and the pressure and that moment that you realized that was you're not willing to live life the way that it was. And that's my first question to you. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
I'm okay.
How are you?
We were just talking about that before recording, right? It's
I know it's kind of interesting that was already there, like and your real life kind of showed up inside of that. But I always like to start the show with, what was the moment? Like, what was the thing that it's like, I thought it was this, but now it's this. Like, what was it?
Interestingly, I think I've had several of those moments. So I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. I think your listener can decide. But the first moment for me was when I decided to leave PwC, back in 2017. Interestingly, before I get to how I decided that, I can tell you that it was a moment of grief. I really thought this was going to be my entire career, and being on the partner track and making it and then keep going through that organization. The good old French, mindset of linear career way before understanding what entrepreneurship was all about. So, but coming back to your question, for me, it was really a couple of three things. One, I had spent the last 7, 8 years really building the Salesforce practice, not just on my own, but, selling the first project, doing that with a couple of partners for 2.5 years, and finally got the, yes from leadership, let's go build this practice, and then recruiting, you name it, right? So it took a village, obviously, to do that. And I really enjoyed that piece more than I enjoyed, selling projects and delivering projects, right? So I really thought, hey, is it time for me to go explore that world outside of a big firm? And I was in the Bay Area, so should I get into this pre-IPO world, that startup world, and really experience that from a product company, not a services company? So that was one of the triggers. Like, I want to go help build more stuff. The second is I had been traveling every week, West Coast to the East Coast for 5 years straight, my choice. But didn't realize until I stopped that I was pretty burned out. And so, I think there was a piece again to, do I still want to do that? Do I still want to travel? I didn't stop traveling completely, but okay, at least it was not that kind of pace. And I mentioned that because I think I was giving my whole to try to make partner, very frankly, right? I was like, yeah, I can do this. This is my path. It's my cross to bear, to prove it, and that I can be a partner and all that. And I just was, that's the third point, when the carrot was dangling in front of me and the carrot kept moving, the goalpost kept moving. I really was like, I think it's time to go and do something else, right? I don't think I believed they were going to make me partner, at least not on the timeline that I wanted, right? I feel like it was going to get pushed again and again. And I felt like I had, quote unquote, paid my dues and really contributed to the firm, and I was very loyal. And so I thought, hey, you know what? I think it's time to go and try something else. I quit with no job, so it's not like I had a plan, just to be clear. So that was the scary part. But yeah, that's what I did.
I almost hear like you gave yourself permission, like on some level, maybe unconsciously, but it feels like, I know that feeling of thinking that I think the whole world's going through this right now, that there was some sort of thing out there. We don't really talk about it. Just kind of like the carrot. It's the carrot. I'm on this thing, but we don't really talk about it out loud. But also we start getting those subtle clues that, wait a minute, that's not what this, and then the waiting and is it going to work out? Is somebody going to come save? It's like that energy. And like what I felt when you were talking was that somewhere inside of you, you gave yourself permission to go, hey, I'm going to go over here and try this.
Yeah, I think it's back to the mindset,
that,
having grown up in France when entrepreneurship was pretty much non-existent. Like you were taught to get a degree and then get into a big company, and your trajectory was going to be as part of this big company maybe forever, or for meaning your entire career, or jump to another big company, right? Nobody ever taught us when I grew up. It's very different now, but when I was taught and going through school, it was just the typical, especially coming from aerospace, you go work for Airbus or ATR, and then you grow within this, or you go somewhere else. So there was a lot of, I think, cultural, bias, maybe. I mean, it's not bias, anyway, around that entrepreneurship, or, hey, PwC is not going to be my and all, one journey. And I had to get out of that. And I mean, jokingly, I went the day I called my husband and I was in New York and I said, I think I'm quitting. He's like, yeah, come home, like just come home. Let's talk about this. Right. And the first thing I did was look at my bank account, believe it or not. The French way, we're like, oh, okay, can I do this financially? Just quit my job. And my husband looked over my shoulders and said, oh, you're fine. Like, yeah, just quit. If you want to quit, just quit. Like, we'll figure it. Like, you're fine. And so he gave me also permit. I mean, he pushed me right over the edge, I guess, to say, like, you'll be fine. You've worked your butt off and you're financially independent enough. It's not going to be forever. You still have to go find a job, but at least you have that buffer. And that was luxury. It's a luxury, I have to say. Not everybody can do that, right? So
that is that he wanted to support you, that he wanted to support you, like, and not be about money, which a lot of relationships do have that crux in between them. That is weird, but like it's there. But like I think that's amazing that he supported and mirrored back to your own permission. The only reason I bring that up because I think it's so. I don't think we understand that we have the right to give ourselves permission to do things because of what you just said about the unspoken wiring growing up about. It all came from survival. Our parents didn't know any different. Our society didn't. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. But we know now that we can choose to move for those things that are inside of us, these dreams or feelings about creating something or wanting to experiment to see if it's even possible. And how are we ever going to learn if we stay in the same track? So I think it's awesome that you did that. But I'm so curious about how that impacted you. Like, there's a physicalness to that change. There's an emotional aspect to that change. How did that play out in your seeking and building what's now Boxy, right?
The first piece, it took me 8 years before, or, 6 before I started Boxy, or I thought, I was founder material, if that makes sense. But the first feelings that I had, like I said, when I left, I was grieving, right? It was kind of the end of a chapter, mourning the fact that I was not going to make partner, at least not here, not now, maybe not never, but you know what I mean? So it took me about 2 years, believe it or not. I would still talk about PwC like we, and I had to catch myself, and it was so ingrained in me. So I thought that was my thing, that was my identity, right? Like this was identity. I was going to be a partner that was going to define me from a career perspective. And I really wanted it. So it's not like it was just, outside influence. I knew when I signed that job offer back in 2007 that I had to be with the firm at least 5 years to maybe get a green card. There was some immigration stuff that I was like, this is my easiest path to stay, right? Do you know what I mean? Like if I do my job and I get promoted and I want to stay here, right? I always wanted to live in the US and have a career here. I had to do that. So the grieving was definitely there. There was also a bit of fear, like, hey, I had stayed with the firm for 10 years. And when I started talking to people, re-networking or networking for jobs, it was like, they didn't know where to put me, right? It's like, oh, you were a director, you have this skill set, but you've never been at a product company. You've helped product companies, So there was also this mismatch of, like not fitting in an exact title, translating from consulting to a product company back in 2017. And then, very transparently, again, just having previous colleagues at the company I joined after PwC after 3 months, I got an opportunity that, just presented itself where even the partners at PwC were like, how did you get this job? Like, which was interesting because it was like, well, I mean, I don't know. I have the skill set. You trained me well, I learned. So, but that kind of, when I got that job, and it was a bit of I wouldn't say like, hey, check me out. You didn't give me partner. I'm doing this now. In your face. Don't say it. You might want to cut that. But
No, I know. That's real. That's real.
I did think about that. That did cross my mind when I got the job. But at the end of the day, there was a lot of excitement too when I finally got that opportunity, because I was going to experience a product company. It was a late stage pre-IPO. So I was going to really discover that. I had no clue. I was coming in from this consulting, career, and I learned a lot. And so there was also a bit of, oh my God, it's like first day at school, right? Like you're just going in, and it's, almost like a new school, right? Completely new school on top of that. So that's really how I felt, at least from emotionally. Physically, I have to admit, as soon as I stopped, traveling every week, I realized I was really burned out with that. Like you don't realize when you're in it for 5 years and then you stop and you're like, ooh, crap, I was really, really tired. And, like it kind of like fell on me, instead of being that adrenaline and constant movement.
Yeah.
So it was good that I got that 3 months break where I could, recover and actually be home for more than 3 days in a row, which then that we had to readjust to with my husband, as you can imagine. Now it's like, oh, I'm here all the time. Great. And so that was from a physical perspective, it took a bit of time, but it was all good. Yeah.
How did you take care of yourself emotionally during all of that?
The first thing I did is literally my last day at PwC, I turned in my computer at 12:30. At 4 p.m. I was on a flight to London. There was no staying back. Like I just went and traveled, go see my family, go see friends. For 4 weeks, I was around the world kind of thing. So I did travel, which but it was a complete, not being worried about work or work waiting for me or anything like that. So it was very freeing the first 4 weeks, because it was just like, I have nothing to worry about. I don't even have a job waiting for me, like coming back, a new job. So it was a bit scary, but at the same time, it's like that feeling I haven't had for a long time, which is you don't have to worry about, you're in that, not anything, right?
You're just, yeah.
I thought, hey, no matter what, like, I can give myself a bit of time before finding a job. So it was that perfect 4 weeks of, yeah, exactly. Just me. It doesn't matter what happens home. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Like it was a great break, I have to admit. And then after that, came back, started networking to find a job. Took another week we had planned with my husband, like that was the proper vacation of the 4 weeks. So we went back, for another week of R&R. And then I was just, could work out more, a lot of things like that I could do, because now I was not traveling. So I did a lot of that for the 3 months before I started the job. Yeah.
Do you still do take care, have those things scheduled in your life and as a balance? I'll just say, I think
the last 2 years or even 3 years now, I haven't done a really good job with that. I think the lack of
tough,
corporate structure, I don't know if that makes sense, makes it more difficult to really schedule those breaks, as an example. I've been ups and downs, and even on the daily taking care of myself, I've had times like 6-7 months I'm like all in, and then somehow something happens, and then you kind of fell off the wagon, and then you get back on, right? But I've noticed that unstructured, as you start your own thing, you're fractional, or you have to actually make a conscious effort to take care of yourself. And I have to admit, I haven't found. Look at me. I was telling you this morning, I hit a wall. I feel like I hit a wall. So,
Well, I want to talk just a little, and it's true. Have you been sleeping better, though? I've done my
exercise. It's not 100% hit rate right now. I've been sleeping more.
Did you notice it? Just so people know that are listening and are watching. So on our pre-call, I can't help myself. I just share like if I see something. So we had an amazing conversation prior or in between our pre-call and here, but it was just this moment where I saw an opening to share about the power of understanding how you go to bed. So we created that, like how you go to bed to how you wake up, as a way to shift things powerfully, quickly, so that you can start to see, wait, that's different now that I'm doing this. Did you have any of those inklings or any of those feelings? Because I could tell by your face that your energy, even though you might have hit a wall this morning, you're still smiling. You still got a light around you, and you're like not like that. So I know something has shifted. Share like what it. What have you noticed?
Maybe a bit more positive, or not dwelling into things I would usually dwell in. I think transparently, it's also forced me to think through 2026 coming, and so what do I do in the next 6 weeks? What do I want for next year? Is this not this?
Yeah.
I mean, and again, it's not like I'm challenging or being like I'm quitting. That's not what I'm saying, but there's just been just a lot of questions that I have always been there, but I think it's, like I said, I think the wall is there telling me you got to answer those questions now. Like, I think you've done as much as you could.
Love it.
And so is it still the right approach? Do you need another approach? You know, some of those questions more than the, do I stay? Should I stay or should I go?
I wish it was that simple, right? But it's just not. It's just not. Like, so what was the moment that Boxy, because you get to work with founders too. So what is the moment of, it's one thing being a founder, but it's another thing being a founder that works with founders. It's a different thing. I've enjoyed it so much. It's just like it's the first time I've connected with people. It's beyond business or beyond, I enjoy the like-mindedness and the common things that we have to face. That's just different. And as I shared many times on this podcast, this is why I'm doing this, because of the emergence of new ideas and the lack of information about how to get those into reality, about how far you got to dig to actually get there, and also within yourself too. So that's why I raised, Are You Taking Care of Yourself? Because it's so important. So that being said, how did Boxy pop into your head, or how did that get to where, what was the seed
absolutely.
of it?
So as I left PwC, you know, for the last 8 years, being an operator at different stage startups, I also ended up dwindling into making some angel investment myself with startups I've met, coaching startups formally, informally, and as part of the Morgan Stanley Inclusive Ventures Lab for the last 2 years. And so when ChatGPT came out at the end of 22, what crossed my mind was like, if I have to set up or explain how to set up a B2B sales process in Salesforce or anywhere else to another founder, I'm shooting myself in the head. Like, I was like, there has to be a better way. Like, literally, this is how it came up. I was like, this is silly. I think, you know, there was a pattern of great founders and just asking the same questions, like operational questions over and over again. And I thought, well, where are they getting their answers, right? So it's like you call the network, you call your advisors, you do your Google search, and there's 20,000 responses, right? And I thought, hey, I think the tech's here. I think the tech has arrived, and we can create leverage for founders. We can't, you know, I'm not going to tell you what to build or how to build it or sell. You got to go sell for yourself. But at least like all the crap that you have to do to scale the set up the company, scale the company, and continue growing that you need, can we guide you? So the original idea at the end of 22 was ops in a box, right? Like, or as one of my founder's friend named it when I interviewed him, was like, I think you're trying to build startup for dummies. You know, that yellow book?
Yeah.
Just way to put it.
Yeah.
And transparently, I didn't jump into like, okay, let's go, let's incorporate, let's build something. I was very shy, and I didn't see myself as a founder. I thought I was an operator, not founder material. So I took 2023 to really do my interviews. And is there something there? Does it make sense? So I didn't incorporate until later in 23 when I really started generating IP, and I wanted that under a proper organization. And then same thing, I didn't start building, or we just didn't start playing around until, you know, late 24, even just I was not doing that full time. I was like, hey, how far can I go by helping, still working with other founders, having part-time jobs or fractional roles. So it's been really full time on this since April, May of this year. And again, it was just the trigger of, it was not instant, it was not instant for me. Again, a predisposition of thinking I was not, founder material. So I had to change that mindset and say, hey, let's try to do this.
And we know, like we started, you think it's one way and you get started and all of a sudden it's just like I was 3 months into, I started in January of this year, and I was 3 months into realizing just in one moment, like, oh my God, my offer sucks.
I mean, I had those doubts every day.
Just had this this epiphany that I worked on for a year, and I just realized it sucked. Not somebody told me, I just got it. And there was nobody around. I started laughing actually, because everybody, like, there's one, like, you get far enough in the game, people will start to say, hey dude, you need an offer. People will just tap you on the shoulders, like, don't look at, stop everything. This is nothing could passes go until you get this part. And I was like, okay. And then realizing that sucked, and I put everything into it. But what happened was everything that I learned about that offer made me create the next one like that, because it didn't take all of the time and the pieces. It was just about going through the process. But that process actually gave me the discernment about it. So like when you're working with founders, do you help them with that? Or like what's your process when somebody, who would come to you? Who would come to you? That would be your ideal.
For Boxy?
For Boxy.
Yeah, I mean, for our ideal customer profile is pre-seed to Series A founders that, really, in some cases might be first-time founders or not, but don't know where to start from an operations perspective. So we're creating leverage, taking the guesswork out of the equation and really guiding them through that. Obviously, we're starting, one of the deeper module is fundraising. So if you are fundraising on top of that, then you get even more value right now. But that's just one step in terms of other modules we're going to be releasing for revenue operations and growth, to hiring talent. And these are the top three, issues we've heard or pain points we've heard from founders, especially as they start. So, transparently, I'm starting with B2B. I'm starting with SaaS. I'm starting with VC backed, or at least companies that do intend to be VC backed. But the vision for Boxy was always to help as many entrepreneurs as we could, right, across different industry. There's been a lot of great founders, even doing e-commerce or anything like that, selling their, passion project, whatever you want to call it, right, arts or anything like that, that don't always know where to start a business, right, don't know how to run a business or grow a business. So the ultimate vision has always been to not just in that very slice wedge where I'm starting, but to be able to be a tool that really helps any entrepreneur grow their business. It's a big vision. It's not going to happen tomorrow. I knew that. There's a lot of change in mindset too that has to happen. But that's really what we're looking for. So right now, the ICP, we call it, is really early stage founders, pre-seed to Series A, looking to be VC backed or VC backed. Fundraising and looking for help, in terms of their operations. So
yeah,
that's
who you serve, and in that service comes mornings like today, right?
Yeah,
it's a part of it. So, what is that like when that happens, and your process? Because I know that is a huge stop for people. Could be a total stop because they get tired of it, or it's at least a delay or a stop of momentum. That is, something that I'm always looking at my business. Like, how is the momentum? Like, what's next week look like? What's the next month look like? What is coming up? You were thinking about 2026. A lot of people are so in the digs, they don't even think about like next year and like what, or, sometimes it's hard to think about what we're even going to do tomorrow, like it's just,
to be frank, moments like those, and that's, you kind of learn. So I have had a tendency to keep moving, instead of sometimes maybe thinking and taking a break, if that makes sense. So I've had, for me,
Mm-hmm.
persistence or resilience is through action, which, great. At the same time, that doesn't mean I might not be taking a step back to take a breath and, hey, is this really what you should be doing? Or hey, how do you switch the approach, right, to do it better or get out of this rut, whatever you want to call it, right? Right, the pattern.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
the pattern.
interestingly this morning, it's been more like I think I need the break. I think I've tried the other way, and I wouldn't have come this far. But at the same time, I think again, it's in hindsight, right? I could look at about December last year and say, you know what, when this thing happened, I think the best course of action would have been to pause, and I was like, no, I can do this. I'm going to keep pushing through. Do you know what I mean? So now we're a year later and I'm like,
Thousand
yeah,
percent.
would I have done it differently? Most likely. And it's fine, right? It just happens. But now here we are. And I think now I'm like, well, yeah, I think this time around, I need to do it differently. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's the trade-off, right? I think some of us are more action-oriented. Some of us are more, hey, pause and think about it. And I think I've over indexed on the other side, so it's time for me to try something different. And yes, it might most likely mean my momentum's going to slow down. My revenue's going to, be delayed, you name it, right? But I think I think I'm getting to that conclusion that I'm going to have to do that. So
How much does trust factor into your
in what sense?
experience? Like, there's an element where we have to trust the things that we're building are going to it's going to connect and work. Like there's an element that we are creating it. We're doing what we can in the day, but there's also this element of faith and trust that also has to happen as well. Do you ever,
Yeah, yeah.
in the process?
I think I do have that trust, but I've had to be reminded of it along the journey, if that makes sense. Especially as it relates to everything is going to be fine no matter what happens, whether it goes bottoms up or success, whatever it is, right? I've had to be reminded along the journey that hey, sometimes somebody has to come that you don't know or and get your head out of your ass slowly and just be like, hey, you're going to
Yeah.
be fine. No matter what
Yeah.
happened, you are
Little
going
kick
to
in the
be
butt.
fine. Because when we're in it, we're so in it that I think sometimes we forget or we're just, everything's not drama, but I think we're in the goods and the bads, right? Like the highs and the lows. And so I've had to,
Yeah.
it's not like you're doing that. I'm doing that without trust, or I think most founders trust what they're doing. Sometimes too much. Sometimes you're believing in this so much that you're not seeing that it's not going to work out. So you have to be careful there too. But I think we as founders sometimes forget that there has been a lot of founders failing before they succeeded, or, having baby steps successes that were not life changing at all, but it's, hey, I'm on company number 6. My first company, I sold IP for 50K. You know what I mean? And then I went to the second thing, and then this, and the third one was a failure, and then I went to fourth, and now the sixth one is really the life changing one, and
Yeah.
that's the success. And I found, and I think we forget that as founders. We all think that it's one idea, let's go, and we're going to be the next sometime Meta, whatever, right? And you're just like, well, no, actually, most founders have had several execs, several failures, several, different, so non-linear, again, not one shot, right? Only a very 0.1%, I think, of founders get that one shot that just, the Meta story or any other. So from that perspective, it's trusting that process and trusting, and being reminded that this is just a journey and it'll be fine. No matter what, it will be fine.
Yeah. No matter what. But a powerful, powerful thing to point out, because that is what people think. I got an idea. I mean, I can relate. I totally did the same thing. And it's going to work because I saw it. Like, that's just how my brain worked. But it wasn't until, and I make up stories about when it didn't work out. But the reality and the most powerful thing is when people come to me and was like, I see what you're doing, but you have to get really clear. This is a hypothesis until it's proven. And look at it like that, like a game. It transformed it into a game, which made it fun for me. And it made going through those spaces of hitting the wall just a little bit easier because I knew that was like, hey, we all want to be in the herd. We all want to be even though everything about being a founder or building something outside of the box is not that. But at the same time, we get to create that with each other, which I think is extraordinary, and support each other because all of our audiences are different, but our passions are universal. So what's the spark for 2026?
It's a good question. So I don't do resolution. I usually do a word for the year. 2025 is breakthroughs. I'm still waiting on them. So I have 6 weeks universe. So you better get cranking. I don't think I've had a breakthrough quite yet. So I'm waiting on. I'm waiting. I'm like, hey, 6 weeks. Let's go. I don't know. I don't know yet. 2026. What the word is going to be. I have to admit. I usually do that. A few weeks before, a few weeks after. It's not like I try to have it for January 1st. Sometimes it comes the week after. Maybe spark should be the word. Maybe that should be the word. My word.
Or sparkle.
Yeah, why not? Here. Yeah, exactly.
My sparkles.
So that's a great question, but yeah.
Well, this will air if you hit it, text it to me, and I'll make sure I put it in the description box below. That's the one you went with.
Yeah,
but I like spark. I like spark. I was thinking of a word too. I'll think of that too. I've never thought about it in a word. I write prophecies about like the end of December 31st, 2026. Like I look at what I said this year, which that'll be really interesting to see because I totally forget. And then I write the one for next year. So I'll put that in there too. Like it's important. And this will be airing probably right before Christmas time anyway. So it'll be
I'll tell
something.
you one thing. I don't do what you do, but somehow earlier this year, somebody gave me this like 12 goals intention thing and I did it. And I think if I look at it, nothing happened. So just FYI.
It has to be, it can't be made up. It's got to be a connective thing. It can't be, it has to be connected to us. If we're not passionate or it's not coming, here's the divider. Most folks think life is happening to them and to us. And in that space, it's really easy to think about, oh, well, I want this and I want that, and I want that, because it's just coming. It's coming at me. But what I'm talking about is when something's coming through you. And that's what I've been experiencing for many years because of that perspective. Like, what's coming through me? What is my now telling me about my next direction? So I'm going to take that on. And when I get some downtime, because I am going to take the end of next week off for Thanksgiving, and there's going to be a couple of spaces. Yeah, I hear you on the momentum. But it's going to be there, and it's okay to take a little break and just be with family and know we're going to be okay no matter what. But powerful, powerful story. I love having a conversation with you. But as we end here, I'm going to ask you something. If somebody's listening to this podcast and they feel that they're stuck in between what life told them they should be and what their heart's calling them to be, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I know it's a bit cheesy. It used to be the Nike, the Nike slogan. I never thought I would have the career I've had so far. I don't think I would have, I grew up thinking it was going to be one job and the end and be all. And in hindsight, I think I would have maybe switched sooner than what I did. Now that I know what I know, I think, if you're really passionate about something, and again, I'm saying that everybody's circumstances are different. So I would not say go put yourself at risk or in a financial situation where you can't recover from. So again, it's not a just do it, completely like no matter what, right? You have to be confident enough that you're not putting yourself in a tricky situation. But if you have the ability to do it, even if it's 2 months, 2 years. Whether it fails or it succeeds, you might, no matter what, learn something about yourself, learn some skill sets you never thought you would learn about or you had, that's also something. And so I think it's pretty powerful. No matter what happens, take that chance on yourself. Really, that's what it is. And so I would say, no matter what it is, doesn't have to be tech. It doesn't have to be anything that you feel like doing, do it. And maybe it's a side gig. It's a hot whatever, right? It starts as a hobby on the side while you have a full-time job, and then it evolves into something else. A lot of people started that way, but I think just do it. Don't wait for the perfect moment and the perfect situation. It doesn't exist. So
Yeah, because never going to happen. That perfect moment's never going to happen, especially now. So it is that, and just know, if you're listening to this, that wherever you're at, like, there's nothing that you don't have in the moment that you might think you need that's outside of you. You always have exactly what you need to get you to the next moment. It's never failed me. It's just something that you have to look for it, because if you're trained to look outside yourself, you won't see it. It will look dark. It will look dire. But if you coming from that other point of view where it's happening through you, there is always everything that you need is always inside of you. I believe that more than anything in the earth. So know that, and the world needs what you've got inside of you. It needs that idea to be out of your head and in reality. Elisabeth, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, and the courage and the chutzpah that takes to go do what you did. I love it, and continue to do it every day, and still your character is still
I don't know about
intact.
That. Talk to me in a few years.
Present. I see it. So, see, you want to deflect that. I'm not going to let you deflect that. That is real. That's coming through. Everybody sees it. So thank you for sharing it with us and our listeners today. I so appreciate it. And to everyone that is out there, that check out Boxy, AI.io. Yeah, Boxy.io, and check out everything you've got to offer there. And if it's a connect, reach out. Absolutely. And if you're a founder looking to connect with other founders going through that experience from the energy side of things, check out 33 Strangers. I love to facilitate those things as well. It's just being able to use what God gave you to help other people is the greatest gift in the world. And the hardest thing is to get out of our own way. But when we get seen and talk about it and have those conversations, it just makes everything better. So thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for absolutely 1,000%. I can't wait to continue our conversation. But if you're listening to this, I know you got great value out of it. And we'll see you on the next conversation. Bye, guys. Okay, so that was